Pleases the commission. The next witness I would like to call is Keith Alexander.
Hello. Swear you in. Sorry, hold on here. Make sure I get this right here. Okay, do you solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that the evidence you shall give in the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, upon the pains and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. And your full name is Keith Alexander?
Yes, it is.
Record show Mr. Alexander took the oath. You may proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Mr. Alexander.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in response to my subpoena. I appreciate that. It's always nice when people do that. So how long have you been on the Board of Education for the town of Newtown?
Since 2011, I believe.
2011? Do you remember approximately what time of year it was?
November.
November? All right. And now I understand you're currently the board chair?
I am.
You're the chairman of the Board of Education for the town of Newtown?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Has anybody told you not to discuss this Freedom of Information action?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Nobody's asked you to sign any documents or orally promised not to discuss the incidents at Sandy Hook on December 14, 2012?
No.
Okay. Were you a board member on March 5th, 2014, when Thomas Hennick, who's a public officer here at the Freedom of Information Commission, conducted a Freedom of Information Act training to the Board of Education?
Yes.
Okay. Let me hand you a document. I'd like to ask you to turn to the second page. The first page purports to be a cover letter from the Commission to me based on my request for Mr. Hennick's documents given to you. Do you see the document that says Notice of Meetings?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Did you receive that document from Mr. Hennick?
Yes.
Did you receive any other materials from Mr. Hennick during that training?
Possibly. I don't remember specifically.
What was the purpose of that training, Mr. Alexander, if you remember?
The purpose is to familiarize the board and the community at large as to processes that are covered under FOIA.
The Freedom of Information Act?
Yeah.
Okay. And did he explain to you what public records are?
I believe so.
And did he explain to you what records are exempt from disclosure and what records need to be disclosed?
I think so.
Okay. Are school board policies dealing with school trips exempt from public record disclosure?
Objection, relevance.
We've requested the...
Those requests are not part of this appeal.
It's under the consent agenda.
It's related. I can show it.
Yep, I understand. Okay, so what's the relevance for this?
We had requested through our Freedom of Information requests copies of the school board meeting consent agenda on January 23rd, 2013. It's our belief that that consent agenda or the documents that were purveyed to us do not constitute the entirety of the records. So my question to Mr. Alexander is, we have information and belief, Your Honor, I think that Mr. Halbig testified during the last commission hearing, that there was evidence or information that a group of children from Sandy Hook Choir went to the Super Bowl. We did not see that on the consent agenda, and we're looking to see whether those documents were complete. The question I asked Mr. Alexander was whether or not school trips are public school board policies dealing with school trips are exempt from public record disclosure. My next question would be whether or not, if there was a school trip out of town, whether that would have been on the consent agenda.
Yeah. All right, I'll allow the question.
Would that be a public record, sir?
Can you please restate the original question?
Do you think school board policies are public record?
Do I think that?
Are they?
I don't know what our school, what our policy says about that specifically. I haven't looked for that information, so I don't have that covered, and I don't remember whether that specifically is covered under the FOI convocation. I don't know. I wouldn't want to say something that I don't know.
So you're the chairman of the board, and you've been on the board since 2011, and you do not, your testimony is that you do not know the policy regarding school trips out of state.
I do not know what your question was, which is whether those are covered under FOI or not. I'm not entirely
Okay, we'll
sure
leave that
if
to the
I
lawyers
understand
then. Do you know of, are you aware of, or is it in effect that a group of school children from Newtown called the Sandy Hook Elementary School Chorus sang at the Super Bowl in New Orleans on February 3rd, 2013?
I don't know what the name was given that you're referring to specifically, but I know what you're referring to, and that happened. There were students that went to the Super Bowl, yes.
Students went to the Super Bowl.
From Sandy
And
Hook,
was that-
from Sandy Hook Elementary. You have to ask that.
Yeah. There were students from Sandy Hook Elementary School that went to the Super Bowl?
I believe so. I don't have a direct record of that myself.
Were you in attendance at the January 23rd meeting of the school board on 2013?
Again, I don't recall that
His
specifically.
name.
Would your memory be aided by a copy of the minutes of the Board of Education meeting for that date?
I would certainly trust our minutes.
Okay.
Your question?
My question was, did you attend the January 23rd, 2013 Board of Education meeting for Newtown, Connecticut?
Yes.
Okay, so you were there. Do you recall whether or not there was any discussion about giving permission or approving of the school trip for these children to travel to the Super Bowl?
Objection. Relevance.
Consent
We've
agenda.
gone over this, Your Honor. Commissioner, our request was for the consent agenda in its entirety, all items. We have not received anything that has any indicia about the school trip. The evidence suggests that either this is a phantom item that was somehow put through without being recorded, or we haven't gotten everything.
I'll allow the questions. You can answer that.
Sorry.
As
can you repeat question?
okay, well, let me switch gears. As the chairman of the Board of Education, and also as a member of the Board of Education back in January 23rd of 2013, were you aware of any discussion regarding whether or not to give permission to a group of students to travel out of state, a group of students from Newtown, Connecticut, to attend the Super Bowl in New Orleans on February 3rd, 2013?
I was not chair at the time. I was a board member.
I
and
said that.
I do not remember having any conversations of that kind. I literally don't remember. It's not something I can remember.
So
I don't know.
wouldn't the board have had to approve such a field trip?
The board policies for approving field trips are probably in our board policy sheet.
Do you ever approve of field trips?
Yes.
Okay, so was this a field trip?
I don't have any information on that. I can't answer that question right now.
Do you remember ever discussing it at any meetings?
I do not remember discussing it. at
Did
any
you
meeting.
go on that trip?
I did not.
Do you know anyone who did?
I don't know anyone.
Okay. According to school board policy, don't these school trips need to be approved first by the principal and then the superintendent and then go to the Board of Education?
Again, I don't have the policies in front of me, but I will say that under normal
Give him the
circumstances,
policy.
a school-sponsored trip it requires those items.
Okay, was this a school-sponsored trip to your knowledge?
Again, I don't have any information on that.
You don't know? Okay. Looking at what I've handed to you, which is, okay, here we go. Let's see here. I've handed you a document. It purports to be the minutes from the Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2013. It indicates excuse me, that you were there as a member, not as the chairman, but as a member. Does this look to be a complete document? Is there anything missing?
I don't notice anything missing. It looks like our regular minutes from that meeting.
I will note for the record that the minutes are not signed. So I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why weren't we given signed minutes?
That's a good one. Thank you,
May I
thank
inquire through the
you.
commissioner whether or not a copy of signed minutes exists? To Attorney Frank? I'm inquiring through the commission rather than addressing Mr. Frank directly.
Does do you have a copy of the signed minutes?
He's the school board attorney, he should know.
School board attorney, I know that.
Okay, was asked, yeah, he doesn't have a copy.
No copy?
He doesn't have a copy.
Why would I?
You're the school board attorney.
Because you said you brought everything that you gave us last time, but
I don't
that's
think I
okay.
gave this to you.
Okay,
I don't know where you got this document.
all right. Does it look to be accurate in terms of its notes?
Again, I have not read this in detail, nor would I have a direct memo to say it was accurate. I'm used to our minutes being accurate and reviewing them after a meeting.
Okay, so your
Before
testimony
proving it.
is that you don't know.
All right.
Is that it? Is that your testimony? Is it accurate or not?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
You are not giving me a sufficient place
Okay.
or position to answer that question.
Okay. All right, we'll move on.
Unbelievable.
What do you want to do with this guy? I think we should go back to,
No. They're quite the last question you have. When were the minutes for January 23rd finally approved by the school board to put in their records?
okay. Mr. Alexander, when were these minutes for the January 23rd, 2013 meeting finally approved?
Again, I don't know. I'm sure that that information would be in following minutes.
I didn't quite hear you, sir.
In the following minutes?
The following minutes.
Usually
So why don't you come up and sit close to the mic?
Usually at the following meeting or a subsequent meeting, we will approve the minutes.
April
Of a prior.
2nd.
I see. Okay, so your experience has been that typically the minutes from the last meeting are approved at the following meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
No questions.
Okay. Excuse me.